Part 1. The night suspicion entered our home. There is a very specific sound that trust makes when it breaks. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It doesn't shatter like glass. It's quieter than that. It sounds like a normal sentence spoken in an ordinary kitchen on an ordinary Tuesday night. "I think we should do a DNA test." That was the sentence. I remember exactly what I was doing when he said it. I was slicing tomatoes for pasta sauce. The knife slipped slightly in my hand, and for a second I thought I had cut myself, but I hadn't. The sting was somewhere deeper. Lily was sitting at the table humming to herself while drawing. She had this habit of pressing her lips together when she concentrated, just like Daniel did. I had always found that similarity adorable. Until that moment. Daniel didn't kiss me when he came home that evening. He didn't scoop Lily into his arms. He just stood by the doorway, watching us with a look I couldn't immediately name. Now I know what it was. Evaluation. He was studying us. "Why?" I asked carefully, because I still thought this was a joke. He sat down slowly. "I just want to be sure." Sure of what? He didn't say the word, but it hung in the air between us like smoke. Paternity, infidelity, betrayal. My stomach tightened. 11 years of marriage passed before my eyes in one flash. Our honeymoon in Mexico, the tiny apartment we started in, the miscarriage we survived together before Lily was born. Was all of that suddenly on trial? "Where is this coming from?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay steady. He hesitated. "People at work. They've made comments." "What kind of comments?" "That Lily doesn't look like me." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the alternative was crying. "She's 5, Daniel. Her face is still changing." But he wasn't convinced. I could see it in his eyes. Something had been planted there. Something poisonous. And poison spreads. That night, after Lily went to bed, we argued in a way we never had before. Not just raised voices, not just frustration. It was something raw and ugly. "You're basically accusing me of cheating," I said. "I'm asking for proof," he replied. Proof. As if my body, my pregnancy, the hours of labor, none of it counted. Around midnight, when we were both exhausted, he said something that chilled me. "If you have nothing to hide, why are you so upset?" I stared at him, because that's what hurt the most. He had already decided there was a possibility. And once your husband believes there is even a 1% chance you betrayed him, your marriage is already bleeding. At 3:14 a.m., while we lay back to back in bed, he whispered into the dark, "I already ordered the test." The decision had been made without me. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about curiosity. It was about suspicion. And suspicion is a crack that never seals the same way again. Part 2. The waiting period. The DNA kit arrived 3 days later. A small white box. It looked harmless, almost innocent. I stared at it on the counter for hours before Daniel came home. It felt like a ticking device. Not explosive in sound, explosive in consequence. He tried to make it playful for Lily. "Daddy and Lily are doing a science experiment," he said with a forced smile. I stood by the sink, my hands gripping the edge so tightly my knuckles turned white. When he swabbed the inside of her cheek, she giggled. "Does this mean I'm a superhero?" she asked. My heart cracked a little more. He sealed the envelope and stood by the mailbox outside longer than necessary. And when he dropped it in, I swear I felt something irreversible leave with it. The waiting was torture. Daniel became observant in ways that frightened me. He pulled out baby photos and compared them side by side with his own childhood pictures. "She has your mother's eyes," I said one evening. "They're not the same shade," he replied. He started noticing things that had never mattered before. The shape of her chin, the tone of her skin, the way she ran. I began noticing them too. And that terrified me. Because doubt is contagious. 2 weeks later, the email arrived. Daniel opened it alone. I walked into the living room and saw his face, pale, almost gray. He didn't say anything. He just turned the screen toward me. Probability of paternity, 0%, 0, Not low, not uncertain, zero. I felt like the air had been vacuumed out of my lungs. "This is wrong," I whispered. Daniel stood up so abruptly his chair crashed behind him. "Who is he?" There it was, the accusation, finally spoken. "There is no one," I shouted. Lily appeared at the end of the hallway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Why are you yelling?" And in that moment, I realized something horrifying. Even if the test was wrong, even if this was a mistake, our daughter had just witnessed the first crack in our family, and cracks don't disappear, they spread. Part 3. The truth. He never told me. The next 48 hours were hell. Daniel barely spoke to me unless it was to ask questions that felt like interrogation. Was it before we were married? Was it someone I know? Was it a one-night thing? Every question assumed guilt. Finally, in the middle of one brutal argument, he said something that stunned me. "There's something I never told you." He sat down heavily. Before we got married, he had been in a car accident, severe internal injuries. The doctors warned him that fertility might be compromised. But they said it wasn't certain, he insisted. So I never tested. I stared at him. "So you knew there was a chance, and you still accused me first?" He had lived with that possibility for years, and instead of confronting it, he projected it onto me. He agreed to take his own test. When his results came back, they confirmed it. He was infertile, completely. The silence that followed was worse than the yelling, because now the impossible was staring us in the face. If he couldn't father a child, and I hadn't cheated, then what happened? I searched my memories obsessively, and then something surfaced. A charity gala 6 years ago. Too much champagne. Daniel leaving early for a business emergency. A man offering to walk me to my car. A strange fog in my memory. I had always brushed it off. Now it terrified me. "What if," I whispered one night, unable to finish the sentence. Daniel's anger shifted. It wasn't directed at me anymore. It was fear. Because if I hadn't betrayed him willingly, then something may have been taken from me. And that possibility was darker than infidelity. Part 4. What the test really revealed. We hired a private investigator. Security footage from that night confirmed I wasn't imagining things. The man had followed me. He had a record, complaints, patterns. The police reopened an old file. And suddenly this wasn't about betrayal. It was about trauma I didn't even know I had. Daniel didn't know how to process it. Neither did I. The DNA test had uncovered something neither of us were prepared for. But here's the cruel part. Even though I hadn't cheated, even though the truth was more complicated and tragic, the damage had already been done. Because Daniel had doubted me. Publicly. Loudly. Cruelly. Trust once fractured doesn't reset just because new information appears. He moved out temporarily. Lily asks every night when Daddy is coming home, and I don't know how to answer. Because sometimes the truth doesn't save you. Sometimes it destroys the version of your life you thought was safe. If he had trusted me, if he had tested himself first, if he had talked to me instead of accusing me, maybe we would still be whole. Instead, we are 3 people connected by blood tests, secrets, and silence. If this story moved you, subscribe for more psychological mini-movie dramas. And in the comments, tell me, at what moment did you feel the marriage was beyond saving?